We are at the Lyman and Merrie Museum of Springfield History, part of the Springfield Museum Complex in, you guessed it, Springfield, Massachusetts. Today, we're exploring some of the history of Springfield related to gun manufacturing. Springfield has a long history of manufacturing, especially when it comes to guns. In 1777, the Continental Congress ordered that a laboratory to make ammunition and a magazine to store arms and gunpowder be set up in Springfield. During the war, 10,000 new muskets, sent by the French, were stored here. When the war ended, thousands of American, French, and captured British arms were stored and maintained at the arsenal. After the war, the country needed secure sources of military weapons. In 1795, the storage arsenal at Springfield was replaced by a new National Armory. The Armory developed or produced most of the nation's military rifles and muskets from 1795 to 1968. With the success of the Springfield Armory, the gunsmithing industry took off in the greater Connecticut River area, creating other gun manufacturing companies, utilizing the experienced labor available. One of those companies was founded in Springfield, Massachusetts, Smith & Wesson.
Americana Project, 21st century. Telling the story of America, one town at a time.
Today we're visiting the Smith & Wesson Gallery of Firearms History. Sponsored by the Smith & Wesson Collectors Association, it provides some great examples in the early history of Smith & Wesson revolvers. Horace Smith and D.B. Wesson first began their partnership in 1852, trying to create the first lever-action pistol using a self-contained cartridge. Their first gun, the volcanic pistol, was not successful financially, and eventually they sold the company to Oliver Winchester. 2 years later, Smith & Wesson reformed their partnership and developed the first, commercially successful, revolver that could fire self-contained cartridges with their rimfire ammunition patent. Their first revolver, the Model 1, was introduced in 1857 and became very popular, with production having trouble keeping up with demand. It had a 7-shot cylinder for .22 caliber short rimfire cartridges. This small revolver was the first in a long line of Smith & Wesson revolvers that have included calibers from .22 to .50, capacities of 1 to 10 shots, and exotic materials such as scandium and titanium. Following the Civil War, Smith & Wesson shifted focus to larger framed revolvers, introducing the Model 3 in 1870. It featured the first large-caliber centerfire cartridge revolver manufactured in the United States. It was adopted by the U.S. Army as the first cartridge-firing revolver in service. This particular gun on display is from the first Army contract. Smith & Wesson, in the early 1870s, were contacted by the Russian military attaché in Washington, D.C., General Alexander Gorloff, about purchasing Model 3 revolvers. The Russians liked the large-bore, break-action revolvers, which were the company's first practical big-bore metallic cartridge revolvers. The general, however, had reservations about the externally lubricated .44 American cartridge, requesting an internally lubricated version. Smith & Wesson solved their concerns, and these improvements led to the first, second, and third model Russian revolvers. Other improvements included a curved grip frame with a knuckle and interlocking hammer for easier operation. Russia purchased over 130,000 of the Model 3 revolvers alone. Among the improvements, they reduced the bullet diameter of the .44 caliber to .429 inches. This innovation is still the reason why a modern .44 Smith & Wesson caliber is actually .429. From 1875 to 1877, Smith & Wesson produced two models of the .44 caliber Schofield revolvers. The U.S. Army bought 8,285 and civilians bought 684. The Army later replaced the Schofields with Colt revolvers. The remaining Schofields were sold as surplus and often used in the West by the Army, as well as individuals. In 1876, Smith & Wesson developed the Baby Russian, their first .38 caliber revolver. This was designed around the newly developed .38S and W cartridge. This cartridge was later adopted by the British military as the .38-200 and used in their revolvers during World War II. While Colt pioneered the design of the swing-out cylinder, Smith & Wesson developed a refined version with their .32 caliber hand ejector model of 1896, making revolvers easier to reload. This new model number 3 was arguably the highest development of the .44 caliber single-action revolver. It opened quickly for reloading yet had a rugged frame and was accurate enough to win many target matches. These were used throughout the West. This revolver, a Smith & Wesson .44 caliber double-action revolver, was introduced in 1881, and although they advertised it with a poster showing soldiers and officers, there were no large government orders. This particular weapon is a factory prototype showcasing a new style cylinder stop like the stop used in the late .32 and .38 caliber double-action models. As the company grew, they began to develop more models and versions. This Smith & Wesson is an experimental .32 caliber single-action target model. The company offered various versions with long barrels, adjustable target sights, and enlarged target grips for many of their models, but for the .32 caliber single-action, only the longer barrel, shown here, was available. Smith & Wesson produced 4 models of the .22 caliber single-action shot pistols for target shooting. The most popular of these were the perfected model. They sold almost 7,000 between 1909 and 1923. Since then, most target shooting has been done with revolvers and semi-automatic pistols.
And thank you for watching my video. If you like it, please hit that like button. And if you want to see some more, you also should hit that subscribe button. That helps me out a lot. But if you liked it, share it, because I'm sure your friends would too. This is Ohm. We'll see you next in time.